Hi, thanks for clicking on this video. So at this point, we all know somebody that is struggling with addiction. And it's hard to watch. You feel very helpless when you love an addict because you can't fix them. As much as you want to, you just can't. It's not yours to fix. And a lot of the time, we don't really know how to help the addict. There's all these notions out there that kind of cloud our judgment when it comes to how to help an addict, such as they need to hit rock bottom, or they won't get clean unless they're ready, and so on. I'm going to go over how to help an addict. And this is based off of my personal experience. I'm not a licensed psychologist. I just happen to be a recovering addict, and I've been in recovery since 2008. I'm also a psychology graduate, but yeah, let's get into this. It's important to first acknowledge the complex relationship between helping and enabling. Often we think that it's a yes or no, black or white type of thing. You either enable them or you're not, but really it's not that easy. Honestly, if you're helping an addict, you are enabling them in a sense. And if you're enabling them, you're helping them. And this might make more sense as I continue, so bear with me, but I want to start by defining the concepts. Helping is assisting the addict with things they're incapable of doing themselves, or assisting them with things that will possibly help them regain control of their life. Enabling is assisting with things that they could be doing themselves, but their addiction is preventing them from doing, and really it's shielding them from feeling the full impact and consequences of their actions. So there is a difference, but there's a lot of overlap between them. Loving an addict is a lifelong thing. There's no quick fix. You are going to be on this journey together for the rest of your lives, even if they enter recovery. The road continues on beyond that. So this really means you need to find what works best for you. And what I'm getting at is that this is very subjective. So what I consider helping and enabling will be different from what you consider helping and enabling, because we are talking about different situations. You know, it's based off of the addict's behavior, their personality, their life situation, my experiences, my behavior, my life situation. It's just, there's so many factors that go into this that I can't just say, I can't give a one-size-fits-all answer. So I can give you the steps to kind of figure it out on your own, if that makes sense. The first step to helping an addict is help yourself first. Put your own oxygen mask on first. This is easier said than done, trust me, because in order to do this, you have to have seen the signs of addiction and fully acknowledge it for what it is. We want to assume our family members are doing the right thing. We might see red flags, but we'll overlook them because that's kind of how our brains are designed to act. Our brain is trying to reconcile the differences between these red flags and like what we believe the person is and who we think they are, and the cognitive dissonance is hard. It's pretty hard to handle. So it's easier to assume they're doing the right thing. Not everyone. Some people will see it for what it is and can be able to call out the addiction early. But unless you have concrete evidence, you're probably going to be in denial for a while about their addiction. Once the addiction has been seen, it's time to face it head on. Skirting around the addiction and avoiding the conversations and not taking actions to help the addict, it's really only going to hinder their recovery. After awareness of the addiction comes education. Educate yourself. What do you know about addiction? Because it has changed a lot in the last century. Our understanding of psychology and addiction treatment has just been revolutionized. So meet with a medical professional, meet with a psychologist in your area. Do research online. Be picky about where you do your research though. Go through the CDC or the World Health Organization or SAMHSA. There are plenty of resources that you know are credible. Or you could look into peer-reviewed journal articles. Just avoid blogs and opinion pieces. You can look that stuff up later if it aligns with your views, but make sure you have your facts straight first. There's a lot of conflicting information out there. We used to be very big on the abstinence-based model for treatment, but now we are entering this new era of medication-assisted treatment. It's just, there's a lot to learn, and make sure you're aware of it. A lot of information out there, online especially, hinges on this idea of the addict having to hit rock bottom, which is a flawed premise in my opinion. I'm not saying that rock bottom isn't real or doesn't exist, because it does. It destroys lives all the time, either directly or indirectly. It's just, I don't think it's necessary for everybody to hit rock bottom. I also don't like how vague rock bottom is. You'll often hear that, rock bottom looks different for everyone. Well, in my opinion, rock bottom means one thing, and it's something that you can't take back, something that you can't come back from. So, death. Either you overdose or someone you love overdoses. You can't come back from that. If you lost a job or financial struggles, or you got cut off from your family, or even got arrested, all of those things you can come back from and fix or repair. You might not, but you could. You can't come back from death. So that's what rock bottom means to me. Do we need to let some people struggle? No, I don't think we should let them struggle. Will some people choose that path? Yeah, and unfortunately that happens. But I think that we should be actively trying to help the addict from the beginning. We don't need to wait for them to be ready to get help. We need to constantly be there, letting them know that we're there. Recovery is possible. Treatment is available. We can do this. Are they going to listen to you? No, probably not. I'm fully aware of that. But you need to... I think you should be vocal. I think you should let them know that you're ready and willing, and I don't know. The idea of saying that it's not gonna work until they're ready, or they haven't hit rock bottom, to me, that's just like letting them continue to use. It's like a passive form of enabling, I guess. We should help our addict enter recovery as soon as possible. And let's be honest, unless you're a truly heartless person and you 100% cut off that addict, you're going to help them and in turn enable them in a sense. Albeit maybe indirectly, but if you're helping them and it's helping them avoid the consequences of their actions in some way, that's enabling. Every website everywhere says, don't enable the addict. But that's a very broad statement. What do you mean, don't enable? The only thing that they consistently agree upon is don't financially enable them. Jazzy, get your butt down. Don't financially enable the addict. Don't give them money. Don't pay for their rent so they can use their money on drugs. That's 100% true. But I don't think that we can say that, I don't know, I guess I'm a harm reduction type of person. So I'm going to feed somebody, even if that means that they can then use the money they were going to spend on food on drugs. Whatever. I know as an addict, they're not going to spend that money on food. They're going to go malnourished. Because if I had to pick between getting well and eating, I was going to get well every single time. I don't know. So for me, it's like, I get the whole don't give them money thing, but at the same time, I strongly believe in the harm reduction model. So what I am proposing to you is sit down and define what enable means to you. Don't worry about what the internet says or what Joe and Sally are doing. Do what works for you. Explore your personal boundaries and limitations. Define them. Clearly define your personal boundaries in how you're going to interact with this addict and how you're going to move forward. Once you've established your personal boundaries, you should definitely do this with the whole family as well, excluding the addict. You guys need to be on the same page. You need to appear as a united front, because the addict is going to test those boundaries 100%. They're going to push you to them and beyond them if you'll let them. And giving into the addict and caving in against your boundaries shows the addict that you can be manipulated. And we don't want that. So it's much like raising a toddler. You have to follow through 100% of the time on 100% of the things that you say. So that hard line in the sand that you've just drawn, make sure that you are going to stand behind it no matter what. Because don't set boundaries or say things that you don't want to follow through on later. Because I guarantee the addict is going to push you into that position. They're going to push you right up against that boundary and test your limitations. So you better be able to stand strong behind it. That's why it works to have the whole family on the same page too. You guys don't have to agree 100% on everything, but like, rude. But at least know where each other stands and how you're going to interact with the addict and what to expect. So once the family unit has established the boundaries and limitations and rules, it's time to communicate them to the addict. You need to do this clearly without giving them too much information, because if you say like, I'm going to allow XYZ, or I will help in this ABC way, they're going to take XYZ, ABC, and then the rest of the damn alphabet. Like, you can't give them too much, but you have to set the hard rules. This is the rule. This is my line in the sand. You cannot do this. It could be about money. It could be about where they live. It could be about work. It could be about anything. The boundaries you set are for you and your family and the addict you love. They don't apply to anybody else. Honestly, like, as long as you're doing something without the intention of hurting them, as long as you are doing your research and talking to a therapist and a doctor, and you will be okay. The fear is always going to be there. The doubt, the guilt. Am I doing the right thing? Am I helping in the right way? Am I doing this? Is this wrong? Am I hurting them? Am I killing them? That's always going to be there. You just need to know. You need to have an honest conversation with yourself and with your family and with the addict. You need to communicate openly with the addict moving forward. You need to acknowledge life as it is. Don't skirt around the topic of addiction. Don't pretend that they're not struggling. Don't lie to yourself and to them and pretend like the money you're giving them isn't going to enable them to use their own money on drugs later. Be real. Be 100% real. Because facing it head on like this will make it so much more likely that they will be able to see it for what it is and want to get help. After boundaries have been established and communicated clearly, you need to manage your expectations. This is a hard one, because I want you to plan and hope for the best, but I want you to expect failures and setbacks, because that's part of recovery. I don't want to tell you that your loved one is going to relapse, but that's a part of a lot of people's recovery journey. So just be aware of these things. Just be aware that a misstep or a mistake isn't the end of the world. That's when you need to get in there and cheer them to keep going on. Be their cheerleader, advocate for them, encourage them. Unmanaged expectations result in devastation after a misstep, you know? That's when people think like, oh, they relapsed, they don't care, they weren't trying, I give up. Like, they give up on the addict, and that's not the moment to give up. That is the moment to fight harder. Cheer harder. Beyond managing your expectations, you also need to manage your emotions. Like I said, loving an addict is hard. You never know if you're going to see them again. You never know if they're going to die. You don't know if this will be your last conversation or when you'll get to see them again. Every interaction, it's just very scary. It's hard to reconcile that too. We don't talk about death. As a society, we just don't. So loving an addict makes you more aware of the fact that they might die. And then we have to face death and the whole idea of death. That's why I would highly, highly, highly recommend you see a therapist and join Al-Anon. Go to Al-Anon meetings. A licensed psychologist has the education and knowledge to help guide you through this. And the people at Al-Anon meetings have been there already. They can help you. And by having these third-party people to vent to, it can allow you to diffuse the emotional tension between you and the addict. And alleviating and redirecting your emotional outbursts can really help your relationship with the addict, because they are going to feel attacked every time you talk about their addiction. And if they don't, and if they're happy with you, you're not doing it right. You need to be very clear with them. Be frank. Be honest. Just don't let your emotions get in the way of that, because they will feel very attacked. They're already going to feel attacked because you want them to change, and it's hard to accept that people don't like who you are or your choices, but I don't know. I know that when I talk, sometimes when I think about the people I love that are struggling with addiction, I get very upset because I don't want to lose them. I love them so much. My emotions quickly boil up, and I don't want to push that off on them because they're already dealing with enough. So I need to take my emotions and my thoughts and my struggles and those types of things and deal with them in healthy ways, like with a therapist and at meetings. And I suggest this for not just you as an individual, but for your whole family. I think everybody should be in therapy, regardless of where you're at in your life. It is so helpful. Some final notes here. Never give up hope, because recovery is always possible at any point. It doesn't matter how many relapses, how long they've been using, how bad it's gotten. Nothing. Recovery is always possible. Rehabilitation is always possible. I am living proof of that. Just know that entering recovery does not mean that they are cured. Addiction can't be cured. Sure, it can go into remission of sorts, by entering recovery, but it's not always going to be a straight line. Don't forget that addiction is not a moral failing on behalf of the addict. And it's not a reflection of you. Their addiction does not reflect how you raised them, how you loved them, how you interact with them. It literally has nothing to do with you. It's a disease. And as with all medical ailments, healing will not be linear. It's gonna have good times and bad times, and you'll move forward and backwards, and sometimes they will lay down and stagnate. Just don't give up. We have also made so many advancements in the field of addiction psychology and addiction treatment. It's unreal. So make sure you are constantly educating yourself, but also open and aware of any advancements that they might make in the field of psychology relating to addiction. Just don't give up. I think that too often we give off this vibe that by waiting for them to hit rock bottom and by saying they're not ready so it won't work, and not constantly encouraging them to be better and do better and get help and letting them know that you love them, we are passively telling them and letting them use and we're letting them destroy their lives, because we have this misconception that we need to hit rock bottom. I don't know. I get really upset about that one. But love the addict unconditionally, but don't forget to love yourself. It's hard to love an addict. Please reach out to me if you ever need to talk. If you have any questions, if there's any way that I can help, I am more than happy to. I love you guys. Recovery is always possible. Please don't forget that. I'll see you on Wednesday.